Thank you very much, everyone. And before I begin, let me thank my Deputy Leader, Melissa Lanceman. We join today in thanking His Majesty for coming to Canada and delivering the throne speech, reinforcing our ancient British liberties, a parliamentary system that goes back 800 years, a system that has served Canada well and has been the foundation of what I love to call the Canadian promise, that anyone who works hard gets a great life in a nice, affordable house on a safe street. That's the promise that we as Conservatives ran to restore, and it's why we were able to get 2 million more votes and 24 more seats. We inspired a lot of people that we would fight for that Canadian promise and bring forward that hope. And we were looking for that promise and that hope in this speech today. We did see a lot of the right slogans and political talking points, but no clear plans to get it done. One slogan dealt with controlling government spending, but there were no specific savings to roll back the morbidly obese Liberal government's costs. We saw promises about getting things built, but no mention of oil and gas or pipelines. Pipelines are, of course, the thing we most need to build. Didn't get one mention. Nor did they mention getting rid of the anti-energy laws that have kept our resources in the ground. C-69, the no development law. C-48, the shipping ban. The energy cap. The electric vehicle mandate. All of these things were left out of the speech altogether. No specific plans to get anything done, even though, as the Prime Minister has said, we are in a crisis to break our dependence on the American economy. They mentioned crime, but refused to say that they would repeal the Liberal catch and release bail law, C-75, or the house arrest law, laws that have allowed rampant chaos and crime to overtake our once tranquil streets. No mention of overcoming the opioid crisis and replacing tax-funded drugs and legalization with treatment and recovery. No mention of real plans to get taxes under control by reducing the cost of government. So we're here to turn the government's talking points into real plans. We pledge to work with the government to repeal the anti-energy law, C-69, repeal the energy cap, the electric vehicle mandate, the offshore shipping ban. Let's get our pipelines building. Let's get our goods to markets other than the United States. We're here to propose cuts to bureaucracy, consultants, foreign aid, and corporate welfare so that we can bring down taxes, debt, and inflation. Let's repeal the catch and release laws so that we can restore safety to our streets. Let's invest in treatment and recovery to bring our loved ones home drug-free. In other words, let's replace the talking points with real plans to get it done. That is what Conservatives pledged to do. That is what Canadians voted for us to fight for, and that is what we will deliver. Thank you very much.
So will you support the speech from the throne if there's stuff you can support in it?
There are some messages we want to see is plans. So we're going to put forward what we consider to be a constructive amendment that will add very specific plans. So, for example, the government says they want to get projects built. Great. We've got just the plan to do it. Repeal C-69, the anti-development law. Repeal the energy cap, the offshore shipping ban, the electric vehicle mandate, and unlock the incredible investment that could bring jobs and self-sufficiency to Canada. They say they want to reverse course on crime. Well, we've got the plan for that too. We will put forward an amendment that says that they should repeal C-75, the catch and release bail law. They say they want to get their spending back kind of hilariously under control after decades of overspending. Well, we've got plans for that too. So our amendment will put real plans in place rather than slogans and talking points.
The NDP says this speech could have essentially been written by a Conservative government. Do you agree?
Yep.
Well, I would have written a different speech.
Yep.
So the speech that I would have written would have said the things that I've just said now.
Monsieur Poilievre, est-ce que vous pouvez nous dire où vous en êtes avec la démission de votre député Quebec pour vous ouvrir la porte à une élection partielle? On en est où là-dedans?
À ce que je sache, il compte le faire dans quelques semaines, après avoir présenté un discours à la Chambre des communes.
Pourquoi attendre? Quel était
peut avoir le discours du trône sur nos relations avec la Maison-Blanche. Est-ce que vous pensez que c'est un discours qui fait en sorte que Donald Trump pourrait écouter davantage?
J'ai pas compris.
Est-ce que vous croyez que ce discours-là du trône pourrait faire en sorte que Donald Trump écoute davantage le gouvernement canadien dans ses négociations?
C'est difficile à dire ce que M. Trump a écouté, évidemment. Mais je crois que le gouvernement doit se concentrer sur l'autosuffisance ici au Canada. Personne ne va pouvoir contrôler le président des États-Unis. Ce qu'on peut contrôler, c'est ce que nous pouvons faire ici. C'est pour ça que nous avons un plan pour l'autosuffisance. L'idée que le Canada devrait pouvoir produire ses propres produits et d'exporter outre-mer au lieu de dépendre pour à peu près 80% de ses exportations aux États-Unis. C'est pour ça que nous voulons des spécifiques afin de développer nos ressources et diversifier nos marchés pour la marchandise.
Can I just ask that question in a different way? Can we just pick up? A lot of this, having the king, whatever, was meant to assert something about Canada to the world. Did you take that away from the speech? And what do you think the impact of all that messaging is on how people perceive us, including but not limited to Donald Trump?
You know, it's been a centuries-old debate between Canada's primary relationship with the Crown and with our closest neighbor. We saw that as far back as John A. Macdonald. We saw it again in the free trade debate. I think it is important to reinforce the British traditions of our parliamentary democracy and to reassert that we have a centuries-old friendship with the United Kingdom. Those traditions survive today. The place behind me right now is following many of the same rules that were scribbled on parchment hundreds of years ago in Britain. And all, of course, this was the result of the Great Magna Carta, an 800-year-old tradition that basically created liberty under the law. So I think it's important that the world recognize that we have those ancient traditions, and that the Americans recognize that we are an independent and free country that will make its own decisions. Great. Thank you very much, everybody.